begin public hearing. I appreciate your patience while we have these conversations. There are times where the planning board is faced with difficult decisions that sometimes have a significant legal impact, and this happened to be one of those times. What I'd like to do is continue and finalize any public comment, any comments that you'd like to offer, and then what we're going to do is adjourn the public hearing to a date certain, and after that we're going to offer the document. And the reason for that is because we need to do this outside of the public hearing. So again, I want to just give anyone who wants to come up and speak the opportunity to do that one more time before we adjourn. Come on up. And if you would, it's really late, please just give us your name again. I know we captured you.
Brian Murphy. I just want to say thank you for your efforts in the last minute. Just so I'm clear, what exactly did you just say? Are we voting on this tonight, or I just want to be clear for myself. That's all.
The board will vote on this resolution this evening. Yes.
Not on the whole project.
No.
That doesn't approve the project.
On the declaration, the negative
is
declaration, not on the project.
I'm not
It's to
concerned about
say-
the project. I'm
It's
concerned about the
say-
information in the negative declaration and the timeliness of the information.
That we are going to
It's from
let the previous
2012.
documents stand, is what we're saying. Okay, that's
The previous
what we're voting
documents
on. Up
and
or
the
down?
information offered this evening.
Right.
Yes.
So you're voting on the document.
Yes.
The negative declaration.
Negative
declaration.
declaration. Information from 2012.
Information from
updated.
the original application plus all of the additional information this applicant has submitted since that time when they took over the project and rearranged site
They
plan
updated
and
the
did some additional
categories.
study.
As previously described, some information has been updated.
So with regard to the school district, it will be the information from the 2012 application as well as the information we gathered
And the
this evening.
traffic is from the 2012 application.
That traffic was, sorry,
2012, June 2012.
June 19th, 2012 for the original study, and then based on Brendan's additional information this evening about the number of times that he
The consultant that
studied
completed
it
the traffic
since.
study for the original applicant did reaffirm the traffic study with a letter to the board.
Which makes it current, basically.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Other comment? Come on up. If we don't have your name yet, we just ask you that you sign in for us and also let us know when you come to the mic your name.
I will. My name is Jill Dutcher. I have lived here for 37 years, and I live on Fishkill Road for 35 of those 37 years. And how anybody can say that the traffic isn't affected by Toll Brothers and the growth of this community. I also sell real estate here. The school district, if you're going by 2012, although our real estate market is not booming, I have sold several houses where retirees have moved out and people with more children have moved in more recently than 2 years ago. So I don't know how we decide what the schools can handle, what the schools can't handle, but based on 2012 information, that doesn't seem very accurate. Also, every time traffic has come up and questions that have been asked, with all due respect, this gentleman has said several times he doesn't have the paperwork in front of him. So I don't know how we're using that information either.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comment? Okay. Like we've discussed, regardless of the outcome of the resolution that will be offered this evening, we are not concluding this process. There are still changes to be made. There are updates to the plan that are needed based on some of your feedback this evening, based on other comments that are outstanding from our professionals. So we do need to adjourn this meeting. And I'm going to we have an October, excuse me, an October 21st meeting or a November 5th meeting are the next two agendas that have space on them.
First or last?
November 5th? Okay. So, and I just want to, it's Wednesday, November 5th, because the 4th is election night. So that's that's our only meeting of the year that's not on a Tuesday. So do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to Wednesday, November 5th?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that's going to conclude the public comment, but again, for the members of the public that are here, I appreciate, I know this has gone very late tonight. We are going to continue to offer the resolution. You're welcome to stay and listen. But we won't have additional public comment until we reopen the public hearing again on November 5th. Mike, did you want to comment?
Go ahead.
So I'm going to offer the resolution of reaffirmation of negative declaration and notice of determination of non-significance for site plan approval for the Muse at Hopewell at 672 Route 82. And this resolution will be offered by myself, Lori G. And as I mentioned before, with the permission of the board, I'm going to bullet point through a little bit of this. And again, if anyone from the public would like the full document, we will have copies of it available in the planning office. And it's very late this evening, so we'll say on September, this document will now be dated September 17th. So on September 17th, the Town of East Fishkill Planning Board reaffirms that the proposed action described below will not have a significant effect on the environment, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. The applicant proposes to construct a 68-unit multi-generational workforce housing development on a 9.25-acre parcel in the hamlet of Hopewell Junction. The proposed project is similar to the previously reviewed project at this site known as Homesteads at Hopewell, and it was determined by the planning board that the Homesteads project minimized or avoided significant environmental impacts, and a negative declaration was therefore adopted by the planning board on August 7th, 2012. The previous application was also included an amendment to the zoning law to create a workforce housing special permit. The zoning amendment was approved by the town board on August 23rd, 2012. Therefore, no zoning changes are proposed as part of the current application. The current application for the Muse at Hopewell incorporates aspects of the Homesteads project with the same unit count, a lower bedroom count, and a similar site layout with improved access and circulation, improved building design, landscaping, grading, drainage, and stormwater management. The reasons supporting the reaffirmation of the previous negative declaration are summarized below for each area of impact addressed in the August 7th, 2012 neg deck. And there's, I think, 14 of them. So the first one is land use zoning and public policy. The Muse application is consistent with the previously sorry? Is that feedback? What am I doing? The Muse application is consistent with the previously proposed application by proposing 68 units of multifamily housing. The proposed townhomes would be located along Route 82 in front of the proposed multifamily apartment buildings. The townhomes would be of reduced mass, scale, and density and more consistent with the residential character of the existing neighborhood than the multifamily apartment buildings previously contemplated along Route 82. Placing townhomes at the front of the site would reduce the intensity of land uses proposed along the Route 82 frontage and result in less of a change to the neighborhood character. The Muse project would also include fewer 3-bedroom units than the previous project, thereby reducing the total number of residents expected to live on site. Therefore, it is not anticipated that the proposed project would result in any significant adverse impacts to land use, zoning, and public policy. The second area identified for environmental review is geology, soils, and topography. The current application anticipates a surplus of less than 1,800 cubic yards of fill on site, a lower amount than the previously approved project, and due to this reduction, again, it's anticipated there will be no significant adverse impact to geology, soils, and topography resulting from the Muse project. The third area identified was natural resources. The Muse application does not propose disturbance in the portion of the site containing the floodplain forest. At the request of the town, an updated habitat assessment was prepared for the Muse proposal, dated April 17, 2014. This updated report was reviewed by the DEC, and no additional mitigation measures were recommended other than those already included on the plans. And therefore, this would not be a significant adverse impact to natural resources. The fourth item identified was surface water. This would include wetlands, water bodies, and water courses. Similar to the Homesteads project, the Muse application would not result in any disturbance to a wetland, but would require a wetland permit from the New York State DEC for a small amount of disturbance within the 100-foot adjacent area of wetland HJ 77 related to the installation of a portion of the sewer force main along Route 82. As with the Homesteads project, no adverse impact to surface water resources would result from the Muse project. The fifth item identified is stormwater management and pollution prevention. The Muse proposes to use a mix of underground and at-grade infiltration practices for stormwater management, where the Homesteads proposed all underground infiltration practices. Similar to the Homesteads, it's anticipated that this projected mitigation would not result in any significant adverse stormwater impacts. The sixth item identified is utilities and infrastructure. The Muse application proposes similar municipal water and sewer connections. The water is proposed to connect to the Hopewell Glen Water District in lieu of the Dutchess County Water Authority. Excuse me.
Close enough.
What is it? It's Dutchess County
Water and Wastewater Authority.
Water and Wastewater Authority, water main. The project will meet the requirements of the New York State Fire and Building Codes, and in addition, in response to town comments, the Muse project would create a secondary emergency access to serve the site that did not exist with the Homesteads project. Therefore, it's anticipated the Muse project would not result in any significant adverse impacts to utilities and infrastructure. Traffic is the next identified impact. Based on discussion with the board and studies of alternatives, the proposed access driveway location has been shifted to the west to achieve site distance while avoiding impacts to the neighboring residences. And that's as compared to the Homesteads project. Auto turn analysis has been performed for the new layout to show that the site will accommodate fire apparatus, a school bus, and a WB-40 truck. Therefore, it is anticipated there will be no significant adverse impacts to traffic resulting from the proposed Muse project. And I'm sorry, I'm realizing the paragraph above that, I was trying to bullet point, describes the Homesteads traffic study, and that the impact from the traffic study was primarily to the Homestead project itself, so residents of the project versus the surrounding areas. And it's assumed that this project will carry that same impact, so no greater impact. The eighth identified impact was community services. This is where the school district information comes into play. The current Muse application is similar and has similar needs related to emergency services. Emergency service providers were contacted, and based on recommendations from the Fire Advisory Board, features were incorporated into the overall plan for related fire and life safety items, including the proposed secondary emergency access. And with regard to schools and school children, the Muse will generate 21 new students for the Wappinger Central School District, with a worst-case scenario of approximately 30 new students, significantly less than the 45 students that the Homestead School analysis determined could be accommodated by Wappinger Central School District. Therefore, similar to the Homesteads project, it's anticipated the Muse project would not result in adverse impacts to community services. The ninth impact identified is socioeconomic conditions. The current Muse application is similar in nature to the Homesteads application, as it would provide for diversification of the housing stock in East Fishkill with opportunities for affordable housing for working families and citizens. In addition, unlike the Homesteads project, the Muse project will include 12 units for people with disabilities, providing housing opportunities for additional disadvantaged populations in the town. The Muse would also contribute to recreation fees to offset future recreation costs. Therefore, it is anticipated that the proposed Muse project would result in beneficial impacts to socioeconomic conditions and would not be expected to result in any significant adverse socioeconomic
I have a correction.
impacts.
It's 14 to 17 units for,
I'm sorry, what did I read?
12.
well, it's
12
it says
units. Oh, I'm
it's-
sorry, it's 14.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 14 to 17. I had that note. Okay, the next item is cultural resources. The Muse project, I'm sorry. The Muse project would have, I'm getting all choked up here. The Muse project would have a similar amount of site disturbance and would also preserve the existing on-site residence for use by the on-site superintendent. Therefore, similar to the Homesteads project, the Muse project would not result in any significant adverse impact to cultural resources. And there is a description up above of the cultural resource investigation that was done and the archaeological study. The next item that was identified was visual aesthetics. The current Muse application is similar in layout with additional landscaping proposed to provide buffering of the visibility of the site's parking areas and structures from Route 82. The townhomes proposed along Route 82 in front of the multifamily buildings will be of reduced size and scale compared to the buildings proposed along Route 82 as part of the Homesteads project. All on-site lighting would be of a similar nature, and nighttime lighting levels will be consistent with those previously reviewed with the Homesteads project. Visual representations of the site have been prepared to convey that the proposed Muse project would have similar or less visual impact than the previous Homestead project. Therefore, similar to the Homesteads project, the proposed Muse project would not be expected to result in any significant adverse impacts to visual aesthetics. The next item was hazardous materials. A Phase 1 environmental site assessment was prepared by Conrad Geoscience Corp. Dated August 2nd, 2011 for the project site. The ESA revealed no evidence of recognized environmental conditions in connection with the project site. The previously submitted ESA is still valid for the current application. In addition, the current application includes a new full EAF Part 1 that confirms that there is no evidence of recognized environmental conditions in connection with the project site since the time the study was done. There are 2 existing oil tanks on site which will be removed as part of the Muse project. Therefore, similar to the Homesteads project, it's expected that the proposed Muse project would not result in any significant adverse hazardous material impacts. The 13th item identified was construction and noise. The current Muse application has a similar building and unit arrangement and a detailed erosion and sediment control plan. Similar to the Homesteads project, construction activities will be temporary and of a comparable duration. Hours of construction would be limited to days and hours as designated in the East Fishkill Town Code. Therefore, similar to the Homesteads project, it is anticipated that the current Muse project will not result in any significant construction impacts. Alternatives. The current application is of similar but improved layout and density, taking into consideration the recommendations of the board during the previous project's development. In addition, the alternate entrance locations were studied at the recommendation of the board, resulting in a revised layout with the entrance driveway shifted to the west and a secondary emergency access provided. That was the 14th impact for alternatives that we studied. The Muse project is consistent with the use and design of the previously considered Homesteads project, which received a negative declaration from the Planning Board on August 7th, 2012. The Muse project has incorporated additional measures to reduce visibility, improve site circulation, and provide emergency access. The Planning Board has carefully considered the comments raised by interested and involved agencies, the public, and town consultants, and has determined that the proposed project minimizes or avoids significant environmental impacts, and therefore the referenced negative declaration is reaffirmed. The seeker status for this is a Type 1 action, for which a full EAF, a supplemental Part 3 information, and a stormwater pollution prevention plan, or SWIP, was studied. And then we have starting in the middle of page 8, we have the series of whereases, because again, unlike a normal negative declaration, this is actually a resolution reaffirming a prior neg dec. And so I'm just going to go through the whereases very quickly. First is the acknowledgement that we have an active application in front of the board from the current applicant for this site, as already described above. The action is for a site plan approval and incorporates aspects of the previous application. On August 7th, 2012, the Planning Board adopted a negative declaration on the previous application. The original applicant withdrew their application, and this applicant has asked to use and update the environmental documentation. The Planning Board agreed to allow this reuse. The Planning Board confirmed its lead agency on July 15th, 2014. We confirmed this remains a Type 1 action under seeker. The applicant submitted a revised full EAF form, and the Planning Board previously completed a coordinated seeker review, considering public comment, interested and involved agency comment, and town consultant comments. The Planning Board previously adopted a negative declaration and intends to reaffirm that negative declaration with this action. And whereas the Planning Board has and I'm going to just read the last two, whereas the Planning Board has carefully considered all of the comments raised by the public during the previous environmental review, the board consultants and other interested agencies, organizations, and officials, including those presented at numerous meetings up through and including the September 16th to 17th, 2014 public hearing of the Planning Board, as well as those submitted previously in writing. And whereas the planning board has determined that the proposed project minimizes or avoids significant environmental impacts, and therefore the accompanying negative declaration is hereby reaffirmed, now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the planning board is lead agency for a coordinated review of this action. 2, this is a type 1 action for seeker purposes. 3, the EAF submitted by the applicant has been fully reviewed and considered by the planning board. 4, having reviewed with due care and diligence the EAF submitted by the applicant, it is determined that the proposed action will not have, nor does it include, the potential for significant adverse environmental impacts. And 5, the planning board hereby reaffirms, I'm sorry, I know my voice is going. The planning board hereby reaffirms the prior negative declaration dated August 7th, 2012, and it will be attached to this document. Before we offer votes or a second, is there any changes that we need to make that I didn't catch? I know I had the number of units incorrect. I think I caught that. Anything? John, are we, anything on your end?
Looks good to me.
Okay, Michelle?
In annotated form.
Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Okay, do I have a second for this resolution, this motion?
Second.
I have a second from Steve. Okay, and votes as follows. John Hutzko,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
John Cutler,
Aye.
Craig,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and myself, aye. The motion carries. Okay, thank you for your patience tonight. I realize we went a very long time. Members of the public, again, November 5th is a Wednesday, and that will be the next time we have this applicant in front of us. At that time, if they've received their special permit from the town board, we'll look at the terms of that special permit, and we would need to incorporate those terms and discuss any other site plan changes we need to make based on your feedback this evening. There were also a couple of outstanding questions on the zoning code and things like that that we'll address at that time as well. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, thanks, guys.